One is Coffee and Politics Online with Sydney Walker, and today I am joined by Dallas City Council members Zarin Gracey of District 3 and returning guest Chad West of District 1. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the show this morning.
Thanks for having us and inviting us to this cool space.
Yes, and it's been long overdue having you guys to come on, and I know there's been quite a few changes at 1500 Marilla Street there in Dallas, downtown Dallas. And I remember when we met all of the candidates for city manager way back when.
Wow.
Yes, I was part of that rowdy group down there talking and asking questions of the candidates. And a lot of us were very impressed with T C Broadnax. So it's kind of a strange feeling that he is now leaving. Quite a few community members surprised that he stayed this long. But there, always seemed to be some contention, especially kind of after he did his road show and met all the community and visited all the city council districts. So I want to jump into that, but just to make sure everyone knows your area, how long you've been in office. Zarin, I'll have you go first.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. First of all, thank you for having me on this. Always been a fan of what you do in the show and all.
I've always been your fan.
Thank you so much, sis. And thank you for having us at Kingsman Coffee here in Duncanville. Very, 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 if you'll mind me, dope spot. It really is, y'all. I'm a fan of small business in general, so just please come check this out if you happen to be in Duncanville. Zarin Gracey, District 3 Dallas City Council member. I've been in office really about a year now. My district covers, if you're starting at Redbird Mall, I am everything opposite of Redbird Mall, across Camp Wisdom, going all the way down to about University. You make that left on University, and I just use Illinois as a cutting point. It kind of gets a little twisty around that area, but Illinois kind of cuts off and butts up right next door to Chad West's district, and then you come on around and I'm butted up against Grand Prairie and this area right here, Duncanville. So a lot of my partnerships and relationships include building the relationships with Duncanville as well as Grand Prairie with the Hensley Field project right next door. City of Dallas is excited about it, but also Grand Prairie. So that's my area, and really excited about what's to come, not just in District 3, but the City of Dallas.
Yes, and I will say that we had Councilwoman Cherry Brown on, and Honorable Mark Cooks.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so he gave you a shout out.
Mark Cooks is my guy. Listen, we hate he came so close again, but Mark Cooks, quite honestly, he and I have been friends. We've been friends in ministry and friends in this political space as well. I've been working with him. A lot of people don't know on his campaign, and he had me knocking on doors and running the numbers for his campaign years ago. So he's a friend and an ally in the work that we're doing. And happy to call him friend.
Great, and that is why this coffee house is so great and important in supporting small business. Is that yes, you guys are City of Dallas, but community is community.
Community's community. I'm District 1 council member.
Yes.
I am like the owner here who we just met, a small business owner who's invested in the South. I'm a recovering lawyer who now I own and operate car washes, and I invest. I have a car wash in Cedar Hill. I've got one in Oak Cliff in District Carolyn Arnold's district. I've got one coming in Arlington, and then down in Ennis, and then a couple more in different parts. But I believe in the South. I believe that growth can only go so far north, and we need to invest in the southern part of Dallas, including Oak Cliff, our neighborhoods, and this is where I'm raising my family, and I believe in supporting our neighborhoods. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Recovering attorney.
Recovering.
We're going to have to talk about that in the after show.
Yeah.
So you bring up a great point, and that was one of the things that former city manager T C Broadnax, and I'm calling him former. I know it's not June yet.
I think he's gone, right? Didn't he move it up?
He moved it up?
I mean, for all intents and purposes, Kim is doing it all.
Yes.
She's sending out emails saying she's yeah.
Star. So, with him coming on board here, one of the things that he was very vocal about was bringing more business opportunity south of I-30. Because, you know, that is the tale of the city of Dallas, is that North Dallas has it all, and south of 30, you can tell it's a completely different city. Not a lot of investment except for certain pockets, and definitely with the Bishop Arts, which is part of your district. You know, 15 years ago, that was nobody knew Bishop Arts.
And it's now known nationwide in some
Yes,
cases, you know,
yes.
it really is.
So it's great to hear that you guys, you know, still are focusing on bringing opportunities to the South. And so with TC leaving, you said, you know, Kim Talbert, hats off to Kim being the interim city manager, being a rock star that she is. So what direction are you guys looking to move into with finding a new city manager?
You know, for me, I'll say, you know, I have these different perspectives, right? And it's so hard, and I've been practicing this last year, trying to move out of staff perspective and into council perspective. But in this time, I think it's kind of unique in that as a staffer, I went through, I think, 3 city manager changes, and I understand what that impact has on morale and things like that. So one of the things we're looking for personally is someone that can provide some stability to the organization internally during this time of transition, which is going to be huge. You think about everything that we have going on with a very critical time coming up in the budget. You have pension situations. You have a really exciting time in our economy in terms of everything that's happening with sports. So you're really going to need somebody to come in and provide some stability and some leadership in terms of how to come back and restabilize staff, how to really bring and corral a council together in this time of transition too, whether that's the person we all wanted or not. They're gonna have to come in and stabilize us in many cases. And then finally, somebody that cannot lose the momentum that we've gained in the equity that TC brought into the city of Dallas. So those 3 things are gonna be critical in terms of what we're looking for. Stability, strong leadership, and equity is an absolute must, and especially during this time.
Okay, so
I think if I had 3 as well, then I was just sticking with the 3 theme, which I think is good, is what's going to be important is someone who is able to wrangle all 15 of us. For better or worse, we've got a council system that's got 14 little kingdoms, and then you've got the mayor. That's the way we're set up. It's not going to change in the charter. We're seeing that none of the charter amendments are proposed are going to change that. Redistricting didn't change that. So for better or worse, for another 10 years, we're going to have the same form of city government. And the city manager who's stepping in has got to be able to play in those rules.
Right.
There's things I like and challenges I had with TC. We can talk about those. I'll be fully transparent. It's been in the media already. But one of the challenges with TC, I'll just say up front, is that TC, his personality was to be more of an introvert. TC was very warm when you came and talked to him. He was very much willing to work with you, but he's not one to bust in your office if there's a conflict and try to talk to you about it. And neither's the mayor. The mayor's not either. And so you have these 2 personalities that just, I think we all know this, right? Like, let's put the elephant in the room. Let's just point it out. Is you have to have a city manager. The mayor's who is going to be here, and the mayor's not going to change.
Right.
And the mayor's got some skills, and there's some challenges, just like all of us.
So they need to have some thick skin.
And someone who's willing to go into the mayor's office and say, I need to talk to you, let's do this. And right now, Kim is doing that. Kim is not afraid of doing that. She does that to me. She's like, I heard you say this to this reporter. Can we talk about this? Like, yeah, I'd love to talk about that, Kim. You know? And so that's one for me, is the personality's got to be the right person.
Okay.
Two, I agree with Zarin on keeping the momentum going. We have a lot
Yes.
in the works
Yes.
from TC, from the council, from different departments, and from our city stakeholders. And you've got to have somebody who can juggle a lot of things at one time and keep it all in the air. And so,
Gosh,
yeah.
You know, one of the just thinking back when, you know, I've had you on the show, TC was there during the pandemic, just like yourself.
Oh,
so,
man.
you know, the city has had, and nothing unique to Dallas, has had a lot of challenges recovering from that. Because I even see, and I run, so I run through Deep Ellum a lot because it busts up to my council district, D7. Places that were beloved places are gone
Yeah,
now.
COVID really made an impact on small businesses.
Yes,
you know.
yes. So the momentum that TC, you know, put in motion, yeah, I want you guys definitely to talk about those things that he put in motion, but to go ahead and finish.
Yeah, and then the third one, so I talked about the personalities, I talked about the momentum, and then, well, it's a very particular thing for me is the permit office. I was on both sides of the TC. I was part of the original group when the mayor was trying to do a coup, and I had told TC a year before that, I said this permit office debacle is going to be your scarlet letter, or it can be your flag that you fly as success.
Your crown jewel.
It is. He's like, I told him, you do not realize the amount of pressure we're getting as council members,
Oh, yes.
because the permit office is failing,
Right.
and you've got to get it fixed. And then there were some problems after that where he, you know, he kind of said some things that were not great to say, and the problems exist today. I mean, it's gotten better to a certain extent, but our permit office is our gateway to housing, our gateway to construction jobs, and our gateway to tax revenue. So we need to pay for our cops and our
All our
firefighters
city
and our parks.
services. Yes.
And shame on us if we can't get it right. And it's got to be the best permit. And now we have this debacle at the new building they moved into. And so it's just ongoing issues that should be all hands on deck until we get the permit office fixed.
Yes.
I
'cause-
see Kim taking that on. I see her doing it. I want to see her successful with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was pleased, one of the things, again, when she laid out her 100-day plan was the providing
Yeah.
that stability. When you talk about that stability,
Yes.
bringing those silos together. And I think
That's
one
right.
of the solutions even that came from that debacle and the purchase of that building was the fact that all of the departments came together and collectively did a walkthrough. And I think that's a lesson learned that Kim can put in her belt
Yes.
and continue that type of momentum.
Yes, because that was very shocking, and I'll say it was very comedic to know that even the city didn't have its permits. Like, okay, you are the city of Dallas. How do you not have your permits?
It's comedic to you. It's horrifying to us.
Right.
Like,
It's embarrassing a little bit.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
It is.
yes.
It's embarrassing. And when we talk about looking for, the next city manager, these are the things that are on display.
Okay.
And we talk about, and I say this again, we're looking for somebody that we want to interview. And we have to remember that we're being interviewed. We've been
As well.
being interviewed
Yes.
as well. And I
Exactly.
think that's going to be critical as well in terms of the type of candidates that we're able to attract.
So I will say, from a community perspective, I was not shocked about him going to Austin. We kind of knew that already.
Yeah.
So I will definitely say, as a resident, longtime resident of Dallas, do not treat this as a jump off to your career, to move on to a bigger city or different market. Don't come here with those aspirations. And I'm not saying that you need to come here and hunker down and die as a city manager. No, not that at all. But, come in ready, because this is what I'm hearing from you guys. Come in ready to roll up your sleeves
Yep.
and hit the ground running, because Dallas is a metropolis. Yeah, we have some exciting things going on. We just passed all of the bond measures.
That's right.
So, yeah, come in and hit that ground running. And I love that to hear about Kim's 100-day plan is like 30, 60, 90. Let's go.
Well, and I do need to point out something where the people watching should hold us accountable as council
Yes.
members. One of the challenge that the people trying to push TC out originally had was that we had never given him specific metrics on how to be successful. He never had that. I think you pointed that out one time too. It's like, how are you going to be successful in your role if you don't know what the targets are?
Right.
And with our council, we are notorious about moving the goalposts depending on the day. And so for our next city manager, we need to get that right and to actually give that person, I mean, Kim doesn't have metrics from us, so she came up with her own, and we're accepting them. But when we hire that final city manager, whether it's Kim Tolbert or it's someone else, we have a duty, I think, at least, I'm not speaking for the whole council, but we have a duty to lay out the metrics, give them our priorities, and say, if you improve permit office efficiency by 25%, you know, or whatever, like, you've met success.
Right.
You know, if you improve by 50%, you've excelled.
Right.
You know, we
Right.
need to give them those metrics and
yeah.
stick to it.
And that's really interesting that he did not have any type of measures. So you could say job well done, or even, you know, here are the areas of opportunity. It just seems like it just kind of left the entire city kind of in the hands of whatever he wanted to accomplish.
Well, and I think that's where some of the separation began to happen, right?
Okay.
I think, you know, you have, you know, somewhat of a, you know, for lack of a better term, I'll get more polished as I continue my term in this seat, but I think there was just a lot of disruption, right? And some of it was intentional, some of it was unintentional, but it just created this disruption around council. It created a disruption because we didn't have clear guidance collectively. I don't know where they may have wanted to go, you know, in certain areas, which creates the confusion at the city manager level, which creates a disruption at the staff level, and
Right.
people are just trying to do the best they can to serve the city from there. So I agree 100% in establishing clear metrics for performance from there. But then also, you know, when you start kind of trying to navigate through those things, and again, I'm a fan of TC's for many reasons, just, you know, his leadership, you know, at the city manager level, but also just how he led staff as
Right.
well, and how he encouraged us to grow from that perspective. But when you have that much disruption over time, you know, again, you want to see TC last, you know, 10 years and so forth, but it starts to weigh.
Yeah.
Yes.
It starts to weigh on a person.
Yes.
You got to see, you think about the reality of what happens on the ground when you don't have metrics for someone.
Yeah.
TC ends up being a troubleshooter for the districts just to keep us individually happy. Like, I have a pet project in my district, the North Oak Cliff Library, for example. TC knows that's a pet project, and he knows if he gets that done for me,
Right.
I'm going to hopefully be happy with it.
Right.
And he got that for 14 council members and the mayor. So without metrics, that's the only way to kind of ensure you have job security, which ends up being chaotic. And that's what he lived through for at least the time I was with him.
Oh, no. That's,
Plus COVID, plus the
Yes.
George Floyd killing and
Yes.
aftermath, and what else
Yes.
happened? Tornadoes.
Everything, I mean,
Oh gosh, and I will tell you, Team Dog for Mayor was not happy with him at all. She did not like the shuffleboard that he played with the staff because it seemed like there was a change going on constantly.
Yeah.
And you, during that time, being a staffer, I can imagine.
so TC, he wanted me to tell this story at his reception, going away reception.
Okay.
And I didn't, but I'll tell it now. But many people don't know I had an opportunity to kind of meet with him before he started the interview rounds. And again, I could have gone in there very in a selfish, hey, pick me, do this, do
Right,
that.
right.
But I really wanted to come in understanding what was to come and what needed to happen, quite frankly, in terms of the change that needed to come. But I wanted to, one, express to him the importance of the institutional knowledge,
Right.
but also, you know, the value of the staff that really truly value service and what they do. So as you're sifting through and trying to identify who's going to be in that next regime, just understand those that are dedicated to service. And his response was, and I don't know if I can say this, but basically cussed at me like, that's not how it's going to be, because he came in with a plan. I completely respected and understood that from that perspective. So
Yeah, and he brought in quite a few people
yeah,
of his own,
Yep.
and definitely appreciated, especially David Noguera. He helped me with getting permits
Oh,
because I had to have some gas pipes replaced at my house. So he expedited that during February during the freeze. So I appreciate
oh, the freeze.
it.
We
Oh,
forgot
that was
to
the other
mention
one, yeah.
freeze, yeah.
Yes. It wasn't like February of 2021, but nonetheless, not having gas in the house was a challenge. So I'm hearing so much with, focusing on respect was there. Institutional knowledge, and he came in with his own plan. And how did that just become a festering problem? Because it built up over time. And especially when it came, to city council meetings and Mayor Johnson and he kind of not having what felt like great relations in the public eye.
yeah.
So, what was there that people were feeling or seeing or wanted from him that just wasn't happening?
I mean, this has been in the media, but so I'm not saying anything secret. The mayor and TC literally did not talk for months at certain points. And there was a transition from the mayor's chief of staff, and I think he had different chiefs who were more communicative than others.
Okay.
And I mean, it leads to a fractured council when you don't have that city manager mayoral
Right.
connection. And
Right.
I'm not saying, I think it's a mix of their personalities. I'm not saying anything beyond that because I don't know the inner workings of who was at fault there.
Right.
I just know now, from my perspective, it's working better. I think because of the personalities. And because Kim's just not going to take no for an answer. If she wants to talk to you, she's going to walk in your office.
Right. So, yeah, I can definitely see that. And
Right? You met Kim.
Kim has been instrumental with getting guests on the show, so I applaud everything that she's doing, but she's going to handle business.
Yes.
That's what she's going to do.
I don't know how she does it, honestly, because Kim and I will talk about something in passing, and she will remember 2 days later to text me about it and follow up. Does she do that to you too?
She does it to me, and I actually,
I
Kim
can't
was my direct boss when I worked for the city.
Yes.
So I was actually be able to witness her magic firsthand. And again,
Yeah.
you see it, you talk about it, and then it's executed. And it's like, how was she able to execute these 5 things at the same time?
Yeah.
Almost. She's just goes.
She's
So
a
I've seen her go.
Yes,
Yeah.
she is
Yeah.
a machine. So, gosh, so if you're just tuning in, I am joined today with District 1 City Council member Chad West with Dallas and District 3 Councilman Zarin Gracey, talking about, the new direction with the city after T C Broadnax has gone on to a new position. So it was very interesting to read an article because I know you guys gave him a farewell and there's no bad blood, but he felt some kind of way about being asked to resign. What was that about?
You're talking about the final one where he ended
Yes.
up leaving, right? Because there were other times before that it
Before
had
that,
happened.
yes. And
Right.
so I don't think just observing his personality and whatnot, I don't think that he thought it was ever going to be real. Like he would leave on his terms versus feeling like he was pressured to leave before maybe he was ready to.
I think knowing TC's personality type, he wanted to, the competitor in him
Right.
wanted to last 10 years. I think, that's a plan. I think Mary Soon was one of the longest running city managers. That's probably was one of his goals, was to do that.
Right.
But you think about all of the pressure that comes in addition to all of those events that we named, just doing the job of a city manager on
Right.
top of the up and down pressures of the council of whether you want to be there or not. I
Right.
think I became more and more empathetic to him as a person and the stress that causes on his family
Yes.
and those kind of things. And it's like, you know, at some point, you know, he was 8 years, but 8 years to a black man running the 9th largest city who steps in, kicks in the
Yes.
door with screaming equity. That's
Right.
like 24 years, you know, and that ages and it stresses that. And it's just at some point it's a come on, man.
Right.
You know?
That's such a good point too to bring up
Yeah.
the family. Like, I mean, it definitely takes a toll on him. Behind like the media and the social media attacks and all that, there's family behind that. There's family
Yes.
reading
Yes.
those articles and those posts, and after a while, I mean, it probably would. I mean, it wears on anyone.
I can imagine. I mean, you know, you came from a football game to be
Yeah.
here to spend time talking about this. So I appreciate that because, you know, family does pay a price for this. And although it
Son has a
is,
soccer game at 12:30.
although it is a paid, hired position, it's still a very political position.
Wildly political.
And, you know, Dallas is known as having a weak mayor system. And the city manager is really the one who calls all the shots. So did that play into it as well? Because I can see that I'm coming in, I'm the city manager, I'm the gavel, I'm the signature on all the checks. I'm the king.
I know this from you were at the city when he came in, right?
Yep.
And I was not there. Neither of us were there when the contract was negotiated. And one thing I just want to clear up for anybody who's not aware of this is the severance package
Yes.
was part of the original contract that was
Right.
negotiated.
Right.
And frankly, any new city manager that comes in, they will want some similar. If we want the best talent in the country, whether it's Kim or someone else,
Yes.
we're
Thank you for
going
saying
to
that.
that's going to be part of it. So that has been thrown out as like a red
Oh
meat,
my
and
God.
it is what
Yes,
it is,
no.
and that's part of it.
Good job.
But when he came in, from what I understand of talking to other council members who hired him, some of whom were happy with him and some weren't after a couple years, is that he hit the ground running. He and Rawlings worked really well together, and it started off well.
Yes.
So that's how it started off. So I don't think there was any shoving of his agenda
Okay.
at council.
Okay.
At least not initially. I don't know about later. I never felt like he was doing that. I felt like he was waiting for us to tell him what our agenda was,
Okay.
more so. But that's me. That's my perspective.
Yeah, and I think at some point when, you know, lack of direction to a type A personality will start setting the tone. And again, watching TC come in as the city manager and how he led and giving
Yes.
directors the authority and the freedom a little bit to kind of push back towards council or whatever was something that I think was needed. And to some that could be, you know, some in those sitting around a horseshoe may have taken offense to some of that, but it's also ensuring that we were putting the facts out there and not
Right.
getting facts confused with political agendas and things
Right.
like that.
Right.
And I think more of that could sometimes rub some of the council members, including the mayor, the wrong way. But I think that was just him kind of leading in a way that he knew best how.
Okay. Horseshoe. We need y'all to get your act together.
Is that what I said? I love y'all, all
She's
of y'all.
paraphrasing.
I'm saying.
But I say this, I will say this, because again, and I think I've said this, we're interviewing.
Yes.
We are interviewing as well. And if you don't think that the candidates that are looking to apply aren't talking to TC, aren't talking to other people in this circle,
Yes.
those conversations are being had, and people are
Yes.
weighing whether or not those high quality candidates that we
If
want to
they
accomplish,
want to come here.
if it's really worth that sacrifice,
Yes.
uprooting families and things like that.
Yes.
We are being interviewed, so I will say that. That's very important to know.
Yes, because, you know, it was great when we had TC, we had Chief Hall, then Mayor Johnson came on board, John Cruzo came on board. It was like, you know, Sheriff Brown came on board. It was like, oh my gosh, like we have like this new
Shift.
slate of people coming in to lead Dallas. And it's disheartening to hear, especially knowing some of the council members that were there at the time. And I can see in the beginning, because definitely TC went on his road shows. I saw him at several events and he thought I was following him. And yes, I was, because I wanted you to come on the show and I came to your office to do the show. So I appreciate that as well. And there was a lot of criticism with the choices that he made as far as leadership and whatnot.
And there's always going to be. There's always
going to be. But I will say he stuck to his guns on things. And I don't know if Dallas has really, they're not accustomed to that. I will say, especially from a black man coming in and saying, I'm standing on business and this is what I want done, and not stepping back and saying, you know, this is for the greater good for the city. Especially, gosh, I mean, he came in during such a tumultuous time in the city. Now, let's say the pandemic didn't happen, and just, you know, regular weather events came in and made, you know, issues for the city and whatnot. It was new leadership that we had never seen before, and type A's, we are some kind of way.
That's right.
Good, bad, or ugly. We are, and when we make our minds up, oh, it's a challenge to change our minds. But we'll listen to you, but you're going to have to do a big sale on that. So now y'all have another type A down there. And she's not waiting for y'all to say anything about what she needs to do. But what have y'all asked her to do?
It's a great question. I think one of the things we've been focusing on is stability. And I think her plan lays out what that looks like, and she's identified all of those areas where we're focused on. Again, I can't speak for council, but I think some of those key areas that we've been focused on, from pension to the budget to the homeless solutions, development services, all of those things, I think those are some of the issues that we're focused on right now.
Yeah, I mean, in the next 100 days to, I'd say, 4 months or so, we've got to get the charter done.
Yep.
We've got to get I think the pension's we're going to have a plan. It's not going to be resolved, but we'll have a plan for the pension. It's coming fast.
Yep.
We're starting to see the outlines of it now. Kim's got to make sure all that happens. Forward Dallas, we haven't talked about that. The big land use plan, that is wildly controversial, and in some ways unnecessarily so, but it is what it is. Kim brought in a new director of planning and urban design who's coming from the Louisville, Kentucky area, who's, I think, going to be great for that from what I've read. What am I missing? She's got...
Oh, so she's finally replacing Eric Johnson that TC brought in,
Eric
correct?
Johnson?
There was an Eric Johnson.
Anthony Johnson.
Yes.
So she moved. Robin Bentley, I think, was promoted recently
To that position? Okay.
into the assistant city manager position.
And Robin's great. I don't know if you've had a chance to work with her.
Yeah.
I've been very happy with Robin since the whole time I've been there. Super smart and able to navigate the city pretty well. I think she'll be good.
I'm going to say this. I think y'all found your city manager. And I'm going to say this because I'm a woman and I'm type A, and I know how we can move mountains with a shovel. Kim, I'm rooting for you, girl. I'm rooting for you. I think it will be a fresh look. She has the history. She knows the problems. And she's not afraid to get out there and just say, hey, we need to tackle this, and here's my proposal on how to tackle it.
You know, one of the benefits the other day, Wednesday, I was during the council meeting, I was just sitting there thinking, I was paying attention, of course, but I was thinking as well. But just the observation I noticed about Kim was her ability. You know, Kim is kind of represents two different generations in City Hall.
Yes, she does.
Right? So
yes.
She was there during the Mary Soon generation, kind of came in under the TC generation. So the other benefit, I think, from a stability perspective, she has the ability to kind of merge those two generations together and kind of get the best of both worlds to kind of merge that institutional knowledge together. I was just really thinking about even some of those changes that she made was really kind of an example of what that looks like when you have yesterday's regime marriage with TC's regime and putting it together. So that just shows an example of how she's moving to stabilize.
I love how Kim can cut through red tape to get just about anything done. The brand new women's professional soccer team, the FC Trinity.
Oh my goodness.
That is a great example, right?
About that.
And Zarin's committee had that come through there. The owners of that team were actually talking to. They approached me before that all started about trying to come to a 200-acre park near Pinnacle Park, which used to be in your district before it was redistricted, and they couldn't wait 5 years for that to happen. They needed something faster. So I punted them over to the city manager, and ultimately you guys took it on and ran with it. But Kim, I mean, I don't know exactly what happened, but within a couple months, she made it happen so that we are getting that team from where they were going to go in Arlington.
Oh, wow.
And it would not have happened if you had just delegated it to departments. You needed a city manager to say,
somebody at the helm.
Rosa, Parks, council members, let's get everybody in the same room and get this done. And Kim did that.
You know, found your city manager. Let's stop calling her interim at this point. I am, because I have asked online, are we going to get to talk to the candidates? Are we going to have another open forum so the public can go and ask those questions?
Absolutely should.
Okay.
We can commit to that, I think. It's us that's hiring them.
Right. And I believe the process will be the same as they go through the thing and get it narrowed down to those candidates. And I don't think that's an unreasonable ask.
I don't think so either.
Especially, this is a critical time.
It is, and you know how, the troublemakers, and all of us troublemakers, Reform Dallas.
But can I say this too? And I'm gonna say this because I have a couple of those in my district, and I was just talking to somebody yesterday, and I truly don't care because whatever the intention behind it, it promotes civic engagement. And if it's catching the attention, it's our jobs to kind of help clarify the truth versus the noise, but all of it creates civic engagement, and I think that's just what we need right now.
Yes,
we absolutely do. The more the merrier, and we'll help sort out the truth through all of this, but it's necessary.
Yes, and I was part of that rowdy group when I started the show, and and the whole thing with the city of Dallas being a checkbook for the State Fair of Texas paying for the police, and now the city doesn't now. And troublemakers, we did that.
Get it.
And we support you guys. We supported your bid big time.
What's that?
We supported your bid big time when you ran for council. And yes, when I heard that you were running, I was like, yes.
I think I had a team dog for mayor with my sticker on or something.
Yes.
I need to get you a couple new ones.
And she has, some new clothes.
Oh.
So, and I have been working on her friendliness.
Okay.
So, as she walks the neighborhood, she knows particular houses and her constituents, and it does not matter what time of day I walk her, she will go and look for our neighbors.
Oh.
Yes,
Good.
so she is a very in tune mayor.
And she'll put in 311 requests if the sidewalk's jacked up, right?
Yes, she will.
And you put one of those cameras on and let her just kind of start following.
Oh gosh! One thing, yes. So I know this was a while back, way before you came on, because this is when Carolyn King Arnold first came on board. Tiffany was still there.
Oh, wow.
Casey, yes.
That was a wild time. Yeah.
The dog issue, loose dog issue, because the mayor, I had to take her to the vet. She swelled up, got an infection from somebody's dog just being out and about. So, and I do want to talk about Forward Dallas because that sounds like, we need to visit that and kind of clear the air on what's going on there. But are we still doing anything about these wild dogs?
As far as I know, we are. I'll tell you,
Do I need
there's
to reach out to Peter?
please call somebody, but I know in certain areas they are more prevalent than others.
Yes.
And what I'm learning though, some of them in I can't call it area, Keys Valley, most of those dogs actually are owned dogs. They just running around the neighborhood, and they do a good job of
Deterring
guarding the
crime.
neighborhood. They ran me out. I was campaigning down there, and I was trying to knock on some doors. They marched me back to my car. But yes, I think they are. But the other one is, I know there's a fox, a wolf, or a coyote
Yes.
on the loose too. So I think
Yes.
you're seeing a lot more of that as well. So there's been a
Okay.
lot more 311 calls for some coyotes as well. So
Okay.
yeah, we're making those calls.
Okay, great,
Yeah,
great,
I
great.
hear about it in my district when there's a spike. We have one area where there's like notoriously loose dogs, and they're typically owned dogs
Yep.
as well. They're not
Okay.
random, just dogs. So I'm not hearing it as a problem as it was in the past, back
Yeah,
in 2017,
okay, great,
which is
great.
what I think you're talking about. But I'm not saying it's not a
And
problem.
if it
either.
is, email
Yes.
us.
Okay.
Yeah, no, email us or call 311. I mean, that's
Yes.
the easiest way to get it tracked, and that way they can center on where the problem is mostly located.
Well, we had a pig loose.
A pig?
A pig.
In District 7?
Yes. Honey, my neighborhood has had it all. We had the partridge family of hens and roosters in my neighborhood, and the hawks took care of everything.
Oh, they took them out.
They took them out, yes, and I'm all for the circle of life, and I hated seeing them,
Yeah.
but I had tons of chicken nests in my backyard as the mamas were trying to protect their babies and
Yeah.
hide them from the hawks. So, yeah, well, it's good to know that there's progress being made. So, forward Dallas, because I've seen a little bit of that online. Let's talk about it in our remaining time here.
I'll start. I think that there are differing of opinions. I think what I can tell, we've held a couple of meetings jointly with District 3 and District 4. A couple of residents from District 1 have attended as well. And I think the consensus was just having the people want to protect single family homes.
Yes.
Detached single family homes.
Yes.
So there's this demand to really have a single family home detached community so that it can be protected and preserved. I think there needs to be some additional education in terms of what are the existing tools that can keep us protected. I think Ms. Arnold did something that was quite smart in her district in terms of creating that preservation district and things like that, for those overlays over the neighborhood to protect. So I think it's going to take some education. The other thing I think we're excited about, Chad and I've been talking about this, was doing these tours. Really understanding perspectives from each other as council members, understanding that perspective when we say place type A, this is what I'm referring to in my district when I say this, but then also having our community participate in those tours to say, to understand what's being lost in translation. And if there's nothing being lost in translation, because those pictures can say one thing on a slide, but when you ride the community and see the transition, it says a lot of other things. So I think us being able to have the tour, to have those conversations and understand each other's perspectives, I think will help clear some of it. But I think the demand for single family detached is something that we need to pay attention to.
Well, especially in older communities. I know Queen City is my neighborhood, and we're working on things to preserve the people who want to live there and have been living there all this time. Because we're, seeing a lot of houses being built at prices that I've gone through some of them. I'm sorry, and if I offend you as a developer, then step your game up is what I'm gonna tell you to do, because I've been inside your products, and I have a galley kitchen in my house and like 3 cabinets. I'm not paying $400,000 for that. I'm not paying for new construction that is not really family conducive.
Yeah.
You have an open concept in a tiny kitchen, but it looks big because it opens into the living room. For $400,000, I want tons of bells and whistles. I want soft close everything. I want attic space for storage. I don't want to have to turn my garage into my storage facility, because there's none inside the house. There's not a den. So, families can do their entertainment, so the parents aren't chained to their bedroom for their entertainment purposes while the kids take over the living room, or vice versa. That is just wild to me, what we're seeing. And we don't want to get priced out of our community on the property taxes. And, the deadline was this past 15th on protesting, but I am a bedroom community. It always has been that way from its development when the Jewish community moved into South Dallas. So definitely, Bishop Arts is a bedroom community. But there's mixed places there with apartments and a high rise over by Stevens Park.
That's right.
And all that good stuff. So, it seems like there's a lot of NIMBY going on because we need the tax revenue.
Well, I want to take a step back and touch on something you said. What I think has been missing in the Forward Dallas discussions is a starting discussion on housing in general and what our need is in the city. Like you touched on, you said this 2 or 3 times, I want to be able to stay in my house. I want to be able to stay in my neighborhood. And I know your neighbors say that, and my neighbors say that too. I want to be able to talk to them about what does that mean? Does that mean you want to keep your tax revenues in check? Does that mean you want to keep your single family neighborhood just like it is with no changes? I always dig into that. We went through the West Oak Cliff Area Plan study, which took 3 years.
Okay.
And we really asked those questions to, 40, well, it wasn't 40,000 neighbors. It could have been if they'd all chimed in, but thousands of neighbors who chimed in. And at the end of the day, we need to understand the city of Dallas system-wide of the last 10 years, we've seen our property values, almost double, if not more so. My house that I bought was a 2-1 in Bishop Arts. Back my first house I bought for $140,000. It's now selling on the market for $320,000. So it actually more than doubled.
Yeah.
And that is a fact, and that's nothing Dallas can do to stop that. That's market prices going up. That's going to keep going up, and those are the kind of things that are going to prevent people from staying in their homes.
Yes.
However, there are tools we can put into place that can help them. We found out in the WOCAP, West Oak Cliff Area Plan, 75 to 76% of people who took our surveys didn't want it to become Bishop Arts. They didn't want their neighborhoods to densify like that. But they were okay with accessory dwelling units, granny flats in the back.
Right.
Granny flats which they could put in that would allow them to offset the cost of their property taxes and their increase in that to be able to stay in their house. That is one form of density that we could do citywide. I think for Dallas, the discussion has become a fear of losing what we hold valuable, and that's important to talk about. But we need to ask people first,
what is that?
What are you willing to accept? Like knowing that we're the fastest growing metroplex in the country.
Right.
People are moving in. Your prices are going to keep going up. Your neighbors are going to be forced out with property taxes. Where is density appropriate? Tell us. And let them tell us. And then we start the discussion from there, and then we go into Forward Dallas after that. So I've kind of been watching my colleagues in their Forward Dallas meetings. I haven't attended any of them, but I've watched a couple of them, and we're going to start the one in District 1 off with a housing discussion first, and then we're going to go into the Forward Dallas after that. People don't have to come to both, but I hope they do.
Yeah, I would like to come.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, it's the end of June.
Okay, so that's...
Well, and I think, and I'll just say this one more time, I didn't mean to interrupt, but just kind of piggybacking on it, I think that's great to have that housing discussion, because what it feels like to some that I've talked to is nobody disagrees that there's a housing crisis in Dallas.
Yes.
The problem is in Southern Dallas, we've been screaming single family homes, single family homes, single family homes, and they seem to pop up everywhere but. And now that there's a housing crisis, that's the threat is now we have to do this. We have to put this mix, which, and Chad and I talked about this. We happened to live in St. Louis, and I don't know if it was the same time, but I lived in Soulard, and that was the style of homes. They were brownstones kind of stacked together. So I'm accustomed to that, but we need to be smart about where it's placed, but also not forget what's being asked, what's been being asked from Southern Dallas, and that's single family homes, and
Right.
making sure we don't lose the land that we have. We don't lose out on single family.
It's not a one size fits all for the whole
It's-
city.
it's not.
And I've
Right.
been misquoted in Reform Dallas and other places by. I don't believe it's a one size fits all, but I do think we need to push people out of their comfort zones. If you think I personally live next to a medical clinic on one side, a duplex next to me, a 16-plex across the street, and a Hispanic family, single family home that's been there for 30 years, 2 doors down. And I feel like I have a great community, but that's me. Not everybody wants that kind of environment.
Yes.
And every neighborhood's different.
And you saying that brought something up. It's in District 2, in Jesse Moreno's district, off of Live Oak. All those zero lot houses. I remember when those were built, and I'm giving up my age here. And I thought it was so wild because, I was raised by my grandparents, 2,000 square foot house, huge backyard. And I was like, why would anybody want a house with no yard? But I'm a kid. And I'm accustomed to stairs because it's 2-story and having a huge yard.
Yeah.
But now that I'm older and kids are getting older, I don't have to cut the grass. I don't have to pay anybody to cut the grass. I don't have to do any of those things. But it works in that area.
You're making a brilliant point, actually, on what does the market want. What we're doing in Forward Dallas is not going to take effect for 10 plus years.
Okay.
That's when, by the time it gets passed and any changes in zoning happen and then the market starts activating, it's 10 years before you see anything. So what do people who are, by that time I'm going to be stable wherever I'm at, I'm probably not going anywhere. But what are people who are coming in the market, what do they want?
Right.
We as a city need to be looking at. I don't even know if Fort Dallas is. I think that's a question we need to be asking as it gets to council.
Yeah.
Because they may not want yards. They may want
Right,
smaller
right.
yards.
Or they may want the brownstone.
Brownstone.
Look. Or, and I think here in the South, in Texas, we are so used to having more space that those density conversations feel and sound claustrophobic. And I get it. My street used to have a lot more empty lots. And over time, we just became used to that.
Yeah.
And now the houses are being built, and it's kind of like, ooh, wait a minute. And I remember South Dallas when it had 40,000 residents over there, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, the traffic, and y'all want to take down 345. And ooh, and wait, they got rid of one of the buses over here, and how am I gonna get to the suburbs and whatnot to my job? Because downtown became a bedroom community.
Yeah,
as when I was growing up, it was a business hub. So I want to be so respectful of time. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on. As you know, I welcome my guests to come back. So you guys let me know anytime you want to come on. I will carve out time.
Thank you.
Councilman West, he can speak to that because
Very gracious on working with me. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Well, I'm happy to come back. Thank you.
Because these are more conversations that are needed. And guys, doing the live shows. So come on out. I know Duncanville sounds very far. It's not that far, even for me in South Dallas. It takes me like 20 minutes without very much traffic to get over here. So,
And it's worth it for the coffee shop.
it is worth it because this coffee shop is beautiful.
Beautiful, dope vibe, black
Yes.
on. This is super nice.
This
sure,
is
man.
super nice. So I will say, I haven't posted next week's show, but the 25th, we're not doing a show for Memorial Day observance. And then after that, I will have on State Rep Carl Sherman Sr. as he is leaving the state legislature. So I want to wrap up things with him and what we need to be aware of that's going to be coming up in Austin with the next session. So Again, everybody, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Guys, share, like the video, pass it on to others in the community. Tell your council member about coming on and talking about what's going on in your city if you're not a resident of Dallas. But enjoy your family. Life is too short. We have some great weather. And the mayor, Team Doll for Mayor, will be hitting the streets, welcoming and saying hello to all of her constituents. So have a great weekend, guys.
Take care.